As our population ages, family, health, dynamics, it all changes, and healthcare complexities grow. So the need for caregivers has never been greater, yet they often navigate their journeys in silence. So joining us today to shine a spotlight on these people, we have Marvell Adams Jr., the Chief Executive Officer at Caregiver Action Network, and Judy Krieg, who has been a caregiver for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease. Good morning to you both. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, so Marvell, a lot of families can relate to this topic. Talk about how many caregivers are there and what impact does caregiving have on the lives of those who do it? Because it's a tough job.
It absolutely is. And it's an astonishing statistic that over 100 million individuals across this country take on caregiving responsibilities. And so it's a big part of our care system. In fact, I go far as to say that caregiving and caregivers is the backbone of our care system. And so they feel the weight of that responsibility and commitment every single day. And so when it comes to the impact on their lives, whether it's driving a loved one to a doctor's appointment, advocating for someone in the emergency room, or even just making sure medications are given at the right time, caregivers are consistently showing up. And so for ensuring that their impact can be fully felt, at Caregiver Action Network, we ensure as a part of a mission to show up for those caregivers, to provide resources and support for them so that they can thrive, not only for themselves, but for their loved one.
Yeah, and Judy, you are a caregiver. Tell us a little bit about your story, what your experience has been like.
Yes, thank you, Susan. I actually became the primary caregiver for both my mom and dad around the same time. Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and then my dad was diagnosed with vascular dementia. And so it was physically and emotionally challenging getting them to doctor's appointments, making sure they were eating properly, taking their medications and managing their finances. But then what made things even harder was that my mom was displaying symptoms of agitation associated with Alzheimer's disease. So she was extremely irritable. She started swearing, and she never used to do that. She was hoarding, and she was resisting any kind of help that I tried to give. And then she began to threaten suicide and talk about how she wished she never would have been born. So it was becoming emotionally draining too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people can relate to that experience that you're going through, and you feel like you're alone, but you're not. Marvell, talk about the I Care campaign.
Sure. And so each November, National Family Caregivers Month, we set the theme at Caregiver Action Network. And this year's theme is I Care. And that's really all about self-identification and ensuring that the millions of caregivers across this country recognize themselves as caregivers, because over half the individuals across this country that provide some sort of caregiving duty or responsibility don't recognize themselves as a caregiver. And as such, they're far less likely to reach out for resources that may be available. And so we see it as our responsibility, and also recognizing that from my personal standpoint, I was a caregiving youth, and at the age of 13, my mom had a stroke, and my school routine changed dramatically from after school to when I get up in the morning. And being in a rural part of South Carolina and pretty, not having great means, my parents had to work, otherwise they didn't get paid. And so I served a role in making meals and helping my mom get to the bathroom and in the shower. And so self-recognition and identification is such a huge part of our campaign, because I didn't realize I was a caregiving youth until I came to work at Caregiver Action Network so many years later.
Oh, wow. Okay, Judy, what do you know now as a caregiver that you really wish you'd known earlier?
Ask the doctor more questions about the symptoms of agitation with Alzheimer's disease and seek help sooner. I also encourage others to join support groups or attend support groups, because it was really nice to be able to talk to other people that are going through similar situations and know that you're not alone in your journey.
Yeah, having that support system there really does make a difference there. So where can we go if we want to learn more about this program?
We encourage individuals, caregivers, anyone that's curious or looking for information. You can make a free call to our caregiver help desk at 855-CARE-640, or you can find information, resources, and support at caregiveraction.org.
Such great information, Marvell and Judy. Thanks so much for getting this conversation going. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for having us.
And stay with us. We'll be back after this.